Hey, welcome to Ensuring Success 2016. This is the last session of the day, so for all of you who have been with us for 10 hours, we want to thank you so much. Applause to all the people who were here for the whole day on the CPE Marathon. And if you were here for 10 hours, we want to hear about it. So you can reach us on email at info@ensuringsuccess.com. You can reach us on Twitter using the hashtag December CPE, and you can reach us on Facebook at the CPA Practice Advisor Facebook page. So we need to hear that you were here for 10 hours, because if any of you who are attending now or happened to be with us last year for 10 hours, you might recall that you received a little surprise in the mail after the event. So we'd love to hear that you were here for the whole day. We want to thank our sponsors who are making this event possible for us. So our sponsors this year are Intuit Pro Connect, Avalara, Sure Payroll, Stacy K Academy, Rivio Clearinghouse, Xero, Sage, and the Business Learning Institute. So thank you to all of them so much for helping us put this together and making this event possible. If this is the first session you're joining today, I'd like to give you just a brief summary of how to get CPE credit for this session, if you so desire. During the session, there'll be 3 times when we put a number on the bottom of the screen. I will call attention to those numbers to make sure that you don't miss them. And you need to write down each of those 3 numbers that you receive. So 3 different times, 3 different numbers, write them all down. At the end of the session, you can click the CPE tab at the top of your screen, and it'll take you to a page where you'll see all of the sessions we offered today. And you can click on any of the ones that you attended, enter the numbers that you received during the session, fill out an optional evaluation if you like, and then click to receive your CPE certificate. So thank you very much for attending. I am Gail Perry. I'm Editor-in-Chief of the CPA Practice Advisor magazine. And for this final session today, I'm joined by Jeannie Whitehouse and Shana Chapman, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves briefly to you before we get started.
Would you like to know why we're wearing our sunglasses? Shane and I are showing what marketing is all about. And if you happen to have the color orange, Avalara gets it right. They got orange everywhere.
Absolutely.
And all of these other sponsors have examples of their great marketing skill and savviness with this event. I'm Jeannie Whitehouse from Broke Markle Davis & Company in Napa Valley. I am the Countess of Communication there, and I also do some speaking and writing and nerd stuff. Shana?
I'm Shana Chapman. I'm a CPA from Gallipolis, Ohio. It's a small town, and so I do marketing mostly to not only within my town, but to reach out beyond my geographical region into the rest of the country to try and pull in clientele. So marketing is very important.
So what are the benefits of marketing for a CPA firm? Because that's still kind of new territory, I think, for a lot of CPA firms.
I hope it's not new territory for CPA. I hope not. Not anymore. What are the benefits of marketing? Number one, having clients is one of the great benefits. Being established as an expert is one of the primary reasons, in my opinion. It's the thing that CPAs should be working on, spending all their time and energy to establish themselves as a credible expert in a particular area or field or topic or subject or something. What do you think?
Well, exactly. It's not just about having clients, it's about having the clients you want to fulfill the kind of firm that you want to have, you know, so that it's enjoyable to do the work that you do. And so by using marketing, you can target those people to make your firm the best that it can be and give you the best feeling for the kind of work that you're doing.
Yeah, it's really the opportunity to turn people away. I think that's the biggest benefit, is to get rid of
way to
those
put
loser
that.
people that we want to send to our competitor down the street, right, Shane?
That's not a bad way to say that.
So traditionally, I think accountants have kind of shied away from the concept of marketing, and it seems like something we're not supposed to do. And those of us who've been around for a few years in the profession remember when advertising was not available to us, and so things have certainly changed. So, how should accountants be looking at marketing as not as the devil, but as something that is perhaps really going to be useful to them?
It's the twin devils, Gail. It's the marketing devil and the sales devil, neither of which do we like to talk about very much. But first of all, marketing is a lot of different things. I think you would agree. I mean, when you say marketing, even if you're talking about your client, what goes into that marketing expense bucket is a whole bunch of different stuff. There's graphic design, there's content, there's execution of marketing, there's measurement, there's branding, there's PR, there's this whole bucket of different activities. And I think you really have to, first of all, identify who you're talking to, what are you trying to do, who are you trying to connect with, and then who are you as a firm? What story do you have to tell? And then all of that other stuff sort of falls out of that.
Oh, I agree with that. It's, you know, if you're somebody who niches, you know, what kind of role you're going to play in that niche. You know, we've seen people here today that have, you know, a payroll niche or an accounting niche or a tax niche,
yeah.
but that's a service. And then there's an industry niche, whether you know, only do restaurants or you do construction companies or manufacturing companies. And so it's utilizing marketing to show who you are and how you can benefit that clientele so that you can reach those people.
So speaking of a story to tell, what are your favorite ways to market? What has been successful for you and has resulted in a really positive experience?
Well, we focus on wineries in the Napa Valley, so we have a niche, which is a huge plus. I mean, if you can build one, if you can be fortunate enough to have 500 within 30 miles, it's a huge plus. So move to Napa, everybody. But I mean, it's a huge benefit to know that you're trying to talk to a particular audience about a particular type of business. So that helps. But for us, it's really the biggest thing that we did. And I started in 2007 as part-time with this firm doing the business development and consulting. And we started out doing some of the similar things like direct mail campaigns and sending things out. But we would send things out with our CPA firm logo on it, and people wouldn't open it because they'd go, we already have a CPA. And we were trying to market services that were non-traditional. So we didn't care if they had somebody doing their tax. We wanted them to know about these other services. And we weren't getting anywhere. They weren't reading what we were sending. We sent out things like books and all kinds of stuff. And we realized that we had a teaching opportunity. We are affiliated with an association in our market who uses us to do financial training. So we do free training on a regular basis to all of the wineries in our market. And now we can show them that we're different. We don't have to tell them, we illustrate it by the training that we provide. And that has been an incredibly effective way to get in front of people and also to, you know, start asking some questions that make them think about services they may need. So it's a great way. What about you?
That's really amazing. I like the way you said all that and put that together and use the training as a marketing thing and not as a money-making proposition
free
right
training.
then.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. For me, I don't niche because I'm from such a rural area. But that's something, you know, for years now we've been talking about the niching and what we need to be doing. And I'm finally we're finally actively looking into a niching into a segment, into a market, a certain clientele. What we do niche in is the type of client is our small business client and the people who own small businesses. So I like a client that maybe has a small LLC and they need some tax planning and some tax prep. And so I don't look at it and say, well, you're a construction company, you know, that yet. But that's the way I see it going that way. So now we're starting to transition our marketing into who we want to reach through that, and while we're thinking about that, what's the best way to market to that. So using, for me, digital is a big thing. As a matter of fact, I had a print marketing come to me and say, you know, do you want to put something in a newspaper?
Yeah.
Okay, but if I buy this, what do I get digitally? That's what I want to know. So I've really started to look into the digital market. And then, of course, we use social media and Twitter because I want to reach beyond my geographical barriers now and move. So I'm really starting to utilize that to get beyond and the website and so forth, and just kind of change the reach of the marketing.
So for us, one of our big issues is getting a list. You know, you want to do marketing, you want to do email communication, you want to have people show up for these things, these training classes. So we had this affiliation with this association for vintners in our market who promote our classes. So they have the list. So that's been one of the biggest pluses that we have, and they are a client of ours. So we have this association with them. Our free training is offered as a member benefit. That is an opportunity for all of us in our profession. You can align with an association for a particular industry and provide some sort of training through them. Most of us can offer training. And so that's an easy way to get out. And again, to show what you do, you don't have to spend a lot of time talking about it. You illustrate what you know and your knowledge, and it quickly elevates you above other folks in the market. But that list part is difficult for most CPAs, particularly, you know, if you don't have a marketing person on staff, it's hard to get that initial list to market.
Well, and now there's all kinds of ways to market a little more where people come up with lists you can pay and
Yeah,
say, give
it's
me a
hard
list of all the
Yeah.
dermatologists in the country,
Yeah.
and you can start marketing, but it is what catches their attention that matters.
It's got to be the story.
Yeah.
It always comes back for me to the story. I mean, we spend a lot of time talking about the tools, which social media platform should I be on, and I'm on all of them, and we think we all are. We're everywhere. But my winery clients, the winery owners that I'm trying to target, are not the people on social media. So I'm not getting to them from social media. I'm getting to somebody in their firm, in their organization, and that eventually, hopefully, trickles up. We hope. But I mean, having that presence in all of these different places helps with the brand, but it's not a direct hire me to do these services. So it's a little bit more difficult. And I think if you buy the list,
sure.
it's great, but what are you going to say? And
Well,
most
that's it.
accountants don't know where to start with the what to say, and they don't have a marketing person who knows how to tell the story.
Well, traditionally, we haven't been raised to market.
Yeah,
we've
just
been
do the
raised
work.
with our
Just do
green
the work.
visor. You
Yeah,
know,
we're just ready to do the work
Yeah.
and get it done, then they will come. Well, that's changing.
And traditionally, with chargeability and utilization rates and realization rates, that's been something. Yeah, we want you to bring in clients, but we want you to work. And so it's kind of changing in how you have to utilize your employees to market as well.
And one of the other big problems we have as a profession is you can bring in a marketing expert who gets marketing, so they might have, and again, which kind of marketing do they know? Do they understand the graphics? Do they understand content marketing development? Do they understand email execution? Do they, what can they do? But they don't understand what we do, so they can't translate very well the services to the audience. They can't take their tools and really leverage them because they don't know what the heck we do. They don't understand it. And we can't tell them because we're such bad communicators normally. So it's a very difficult thing to bridge. So it's one of the benefits that I have as a CPA trying to do the marketing, that I can tell the story and then I can tell it in an authentic way for the firm. And I know that there are other folks that are doing that, but it's hard. It's hard to leverage the skill set of the marketing stuff with the knowledge of really what we're talking about.
It is.
So what are you doing? Are you doing
Well, one
your
of the things that I try to do is drive home in my marketing that nobody likes to do accountants, but nobody likes to do accounting, but accountants. And that actually kind of reaches people because when you own a small business, what's the first thing that happens? Oh my gosh, you got to start filling out papers immediately. If you want to start an LLC, there's a paper, right? Well, okay, I can't do that. I'm not an attorney, but I'll hook you up with one. We'll get that taken care of. Okay. Oh, you need employees. And these people start to realize there's a lot of back office work, and all they really wanted to do was
sell something,
be a winery, be a plumber, do something. And so I try to drive home, I try to market from the standpoint of I'm here to rescue you and help you out and relieve you so that it's a feeling, like you were saying, I'm here to help you so that you can run your business and create a feeling of this is your safe place, come to me and I'm gonna help you to succeed. And that's my job, by the way, is to help you ultimately to succeed. And so let's talk about how that works. And when you make people feel more comfortable, that's when the growth starts to happen.
Okay, let's put the first CPE code up on the screen. Remember, if you're going to request CPE for this session, you need 3 codes. This is the first one that you're seeing right now, so be sure to write that down. There will be 2 more coming later in the session. In traditional accounting firms, you used to go into the lobby of the firm, and there on the table there'd be a pile of brochures. I haven't seen a brochure for an accounting firm in a long time, but I kind of think that the website is the new brochure.
It's definitely.
So what kind of websites do you guys have for your firms, and what do you recommend?
We have a custom local web designer that created ours. He created the first version, then we just did a complete refresh to make it more responsive, which is the new way to do websites. So it's mobile friendly. It works on any application, any device. So we had him redo it. But again, it was about the story we wanted to tell. And our website has images we took of our firm delivering the services that we want people to understand we do. A lot of educational photos of us doing classes and drawing on chalkboards and playing games with cards and stuff, weird stuff that we do. So when you look at our site, you see that. But one of the big mistakes we made early on is our tagline. We had a tagline that said, putting people first. And you look at that, so we always try to have something cutesy. Everybody thinks that the tagline needs to be a creative, cutesy sort of thing that you say. Well, you read that and you see the letters of our firm and you see that tagline, and it says we're an HR firm or something. It doesn't say accountants or CPAs or wine industry even. So we just rebranded, we redid the tagline to say wine industry accountants. And now it's not cutesy, but it tells you who the heck we are. So it's much more meaningful. And I think that's one of those are the kinds of things that you miss sometimes when you're starting. We need a tagline. Or if somebody tells you that, and you don't really know what that means.
So I'm a sole proprietor, so I tried to make it, I really tried to think through this. Do I want this to be an entity and nobody really standing behind it? Or do I, you know, or do I want to put my face on it? And that's what I ended up going with. Hey, I'm here, it's me.
Yeah.
So let's make this personable. And when you get into my, get onto my page, it immediately I try to say, hey, you know, we're here. We're gonna work in the cloud. We're gonna be cloud-based so we can take care of you. And we're gonna try and relieve you of some pressures. And here's a picture of a lady sitting in a hammock because she doesn't have to worry about the pressure.
It's a great picture.
And so it's just it's all about here we are. And there are people behind this, and that we want to help, and so that's what I try and pull off in our website. And then, of course, from there, there's some more traditional things that happen after that. You know, you log into our portal, or do this, or do that. You know, but I want to create a feeling when you first log in that I'm not. I have good colors. I have orange. You know, I try and bright and fun, and I try very hard to say. The people I had do my website, I said it can't be navy blue, it can't be forest green, it can't be maroon. I don't want these three colors in my website because traditionally those are very accountant colors, and I just blend in with everybody else. And I want something that says, "Hey,
pop.
We're different." And you know, you log in and there's hands holding my logo, like, "Hey, we're here to help." And so that was really branding really played into that.
Yeah, it's really important. It's to get that heart out. It's that we have this fear of personality as CPAs. We don't want to display that we are real people too. We have this professional thing we're supposed to put on, the shield of professionality that we put around us.
Right.
And people don't want that. They want a human. They want to touch you at some level. They want you to connect with them at some emotional level. And so we have to find a way to be much more about that. Most of the CPA firm websites that you go to will lead off with how long they've been around. And that just makes me furious because, like, who cares?
And a lot of them are
Who are you?
canned.
Yeah, they're canned. They could buy the canned website from one of the
Slap
the
their
tax
name
vendors.
on it, pick a background color.
You can Google the paragraph that you get from that and find out about all the CPA firms, and there are hundreds of them. I do that for training. They're all using the same exact verbiage. That is just so depressing.
Yeah, it is.
You can't find one word to say that's different about your firm. You're in trouble.
I really had a hard time. I think there's a smiley face in there's like, you know, the colon, like parentheses, and I went back and forth about, do I really want to put this on my website? It's a smiley face. And I thought, yeah, I do, because that's my personality.
That's risky for a CPA. Put an emoji on your
Yeah, I smile, and I want people to know that. Like, we have fun with what we do, and we enjoy it, and I have good staff, and we love what we do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you know, if you're a big
communicate.
accounting firm, you might not want to put a smiley face, but that's us. That's who we are, and I want you to know that we enjoy what we do.
I worked with some CPA firms that did some website and marketing stuff early on to help people set up their sites, and I had one firm that told me I could not use contractions in the writing.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, okay, is that how you talk? We cannot use contractions in our writing, or do you say you can't? So I want it to be conversational. You really need to make it a connectability thing, and contractions make conversation flow more smoothly. So you need to write the way you talk, and that's one of those things we learned back in the early days of accounting, that you had a very stilted language in all of your communication. And that depletes the value of what you are and makes you not appear as a person, makes you more robotic in how you present. And I think that's a big mistake.
And I think that was something I wrote down, personality. Bringing a personality to your, and that's true just even in social media, bringing personality to you.
Yeah.
You see these firms that tweet out, and it's just tweet
Tax
after
code.
tweet after tweet with a link, and you're like, huh, is anybody there?
Yeah. Or they'll even put it on an endless loop. And
That's the number one most requested thing you get from accountants. How often should I do it? The first thing they want to know is not what am I going to say, but how often do I do it? They schedule it, so every 35 minutes there's a tweet. But what are you saying? I don't know, but I'm going to do it every 35 minutes because that's what's on my checklist.
Yeah.
Forget it. Figure out something to say that matters, that's related to what you're doing, and tweet as often as there is something useful to say.
You know, I think social media is kind of an overlooked medium for accountants because, I mean, I've taught a lot of classes on how to use social media effectively in this profession, and often the people in the class will be kind of, oh, I don't think that's for me.
I'm not
it's
that
for
person.
kids, or I don't want to do it, But honestly, it's a really introverted thing, which should go really well with a stereotypical accounting personality.
You can
I mean,
be
you don't
anywhere
have to see anybody face to face.
You don't have
You
to
can
put your
have this
picture up
great
or anything.
relationship and conversation. It's a really bad thing. This is the last session of the day. So,
Slap happy
But
at
let's
this point.
actually, that's the introvert's tool. You don't have to put your picture up or anything. You don't have to talk to anybody. You can just do it behind your desk and you can automate it.
so let's talk a little bit about actually social media and how it can be used effectively in a marketing format to actually build your practice or build your relationships or whatever it is you're trying to do.
To me, it's that credibility thing. It's a way to establish personality. So you can connect. So we do winery. So we're connecting. So when I see something cool happening in the wine industry, I'm tweeting it out. And I'm connecting it to something that we do, or I'm trying to, if a tax code provision comes out that's relevant for a winery, I'll tweet it out. Again, it doesn't mean the owner is reading it, but I built this whole library of content now that's related to our firm that gives us presence, that establishes that we have this expertise. So if somebody else who's reading social media sees it and they have somebody who needs winery help, I'm going to pop up. Our firm is going to come up at the top of their list. And it's really about building that awareness around who you are and what you do.
I found there's two things with social media. There's building your firm with your clients, and there's building your firm with your peers.
Yeah.
There's two different things, and
right.
both of them help you with clients.
That's right.
Building, actually, the
local
reason why
market,
I'm
yeah.
here is started with Twitter, and,
Yes, that's how we
and
know,
a certain
yeah.
person said, hey, why don't you come do this? Hey, why don't we meet
Yeah.
up? And then I started meeting my peer groups, and
Yeah.
through doing that, and that's how
Yeah.
I know everybody now.
That's
We
how
just
we-
started going and meeting each other.
Yeah.
Then through doing that, I've started client relationships, because even
Yeah.
if it's not directly through Twitter
Yeah.
or Facebook or whatever it is, it may have gotten me to the point where then I have been known in some other kind of way, in some other kind of article or some other kind of advertising comes out of it.
Yeah.
So whether it's direct or indirect, it has an effect.
Yeah.
Or I'll go speak. Hey, we saw that you tweeted out about X, Y, and Z. Will you come talk about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there's a client relationship that might happen there.
And the movers and shakers in my industry are on Twitter. So there are people who are influencers who are in the wine industry who are out there. And I go to events and they know me by my Twitter handle, even a nerd, which they know, and I know theirs. And we know each other. And, oh, you're so-and-so. And it's a great connecting point. And you end up speaking because people have seen you on the social media channels. So it's also a great way, if you're doing something in your community, a great way to get the word out so that people see these are the things that we're doing in this space. When I have a class, we're tweeting out, this class is coming up. And so again, you're building this list of touch points that your clients can see. Even if they never look at Twitter, they can see the history on our website that we're doing all these things and talking about all this stuff. And we're different from other firms that are in the space. So it accumulates.
And like the contractions you mentioned, I mean, you want to be conversational, and you don't want to tweet out sections of the tax code or something. It's just
oh, that's fun. Yeah, we love that.
I really like that guy that knows all the sections of the tax code, but he probably doesn't need to be in charge of your social media.
That's right.
He's really valuable, though.
Yeah, we need him. We all need him. Or her.
That's a different person, and it is important because there's a connection. People see stuff like that that's just, and they're like, and you just kind of scroll through it. But you see something with a little personality and a title and something that really kind of grabs you with a link, and that's different. Or just occasionally, I mean, hey, when somebody just decides to tweet back and have a conversation with you, it really grabs you.
You form a relationship. That's what marketing is really ultimately at its essence about. And social media is a tool for building relationships beyond your local geographic market.
Yeah, just to say, hey, thanks for retweeting me. And somebody else will come back and say, it was a great link, thanks for sharing it. And then you've made a connection.
Yeah, it's positive feedback, immediate feedback. We don't get that doing tax returns.
Yeah.
We don't get that positive feedback very often from either our clients or coworkers. At least I didn't when I was doing tax returns. I got a lot of negative feedback about the review notes that I needed to clean up. But I mean, this is positive feedback. Somebody read something that I put out. Wow, it's cool stuff.
Yeah.
So but it's also a very good educational source. People in the industry are talking to each other about something, and I can see what's going on. And if there's a problem, like there was the credit card issue, American Express changed some rules in the way that they would accept credit cards, and so I could see it through some of the things that were happening in social channels. And so I got in front of it and then did some articles and then looked about ways that we could help our clients address that. So it's a great way for you to get information as well, to put it out and to receive it.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And so Twitter, though, You know, there's beyond Twitter, there's other kinds of social media, there's Facebook. I don't think that anybody likes to look at my Pinterest so much, but somebody else might have a killer Pinterest account, Instagram or something like that. There are people that have learned to use Periscope and all these other sites.
Snapchat's big. There's lots of places. We could go crazy trying to figure out which place are we supposed to be.
I think it really depends on where your clients are where the clients you want are.
That's what you have to figure out. Where are they hanging out and how can I get in front of them? And that's why.
And you know, you can actually just ask them.
Where are you getting your information?
I think my Facebook reaches more localized people that are maybe friends of mine, more people that are already part of my Facebook, especially because Facebook's kind of harder to get where they need to go. But Twitter just is out there, and so it's been a really good social media site to work on. So we tend to talk about it a lot.
Okay, we have another CPE code to display, so let's put the second code up on the screen for this session. Be sure to write down this code if you plan to request CPE for this session. And we have a question from one of our attendees that says, as we enter our 10th hour, I'm wondering, many of us are trying to find new clients, but in my case, I can't find staff to work on new clients. We turn potentially great clients away unless they are family related to existing clients. How do we use marketing to bring in experienced and qualified staff?
That's your social media, and for me, it's LinkedIn. It's your best source of access to staff. You can see who's working in your area, who's got some skills that you need. You can publish the cool things that your firm is doing and use that as a vehicle to spread the word about what you're doing. And it's designed to be a professional network. It's gotten a little bit less professional. There's a little bit of more fluffy stuff that's getting in there. But, I mean, that's a place to connect. It's a business platform. It's got contacts. You can reach out to people. You can communicate your job openings. But I agree with you. The staffing thing is a big problem for our profession. In our market, it's a big issue.
It's even a big issue in a rural market, for sure.
And we're going remote. I mean, we're going to have to start getting people in remote areas to do the work that we need. And depending on what the skill sets are, that can be done pretty easily, especially in tax. We can outsource some of the traditional stuff. The consulting services that we're trying to deliver are a little bit harder. It needs to be people in the area. And so we're having a problem getting people to come to a small, basically, farming community in a relatively expensive place. It's hard to get young people there. It's hard to attract people when we're an hour from San Francisco. If you're right out of school, you want to be in a big city where all the cool bars are. We've got great wine, but it's a little bit different. But it's an issue. But social media is one of the big ways to get ahead of that, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right with LinkedIn. Certainly on my level, it's where I am. What was the traditional way? Put an ad in a newspaper and go show up to college and it's just not there. Have them reply to some random PO box with a resume, and that's just not the way it's done anymore. And so, I do look at LinkedIn and I look at the people's pictures, which pictures are important, y'all.
They are. They really are.
Your selfie on LinkedIn probably isn't the right photo.
That's really important.
But to put your resume out there and all that information, I pay attention to what people write, and I think you're right. I think that's a good way. We talked about this I sit on an advisory board for college for their accountancy department, and that was one conversation that we had was, have you checked the kids' LinkedIn profiles? These college students, they have them.
And teach them how to do them right while they're at it.
But the firms, I don't think, realize that these kids, they want to be ready, and so they're putting it out there.
Yeah, they're doing it. They're keeping their stuff.
And they are. But some of the people that are doing the hiring haven't really got into the social media aspect yet, so they're not looking there.
That's a shame, because that's really where the place is. So you get, some young person, your newest person in the firm, to look at that stuff and use their channels to communicate what's going on in the firm. We also did, do things like get on those lists of great places to work. We did one of those, and that, that helps you get some notice when it comes to recruiting. Get your face out there in your firm.
So a lot of people ask when I speak to them about social media in accounting firms what the ROI is. Because it's an investment in time to participate in social media, and so the question comes back to how am I going to get that money back or that lost time?
This is a really difficult one for me, because for me, social media is not a separate thing that I do. It's part of the way I work. It's part of how I think. It's how I process information. It's part of my day, and I don't see it as a separate thing I'm not doing something else for. So I have a hard time.
if you make it hard.
But that's what people that are new to it see it as a separate thing I do when I'm not doing my work, and I'm always using it to incorporate with what I'm doing. If I come up with something interesting when I'm looking at a consulting gig or something that I'm working on, I'll look up something and then I'll tweet it out, because then it's a record for me of something that I've just learned or discovered, and I know it has application to a client. So it's constantly in my mind that I need to share this with other people when I find something. So I don't know how to, I'm basically a marketing person in the firm, so it's my role to do that. I'm still doing consulting work as well, but it's really, they expect me to be doing this stuff. And you need somebody, I think, who's got that sort of mindset in your organization. How do you?
So I'm small CPA firm, so I'm coming at it from a small angle. I think my peer group would say, that's our job.
Yeah.
There comes a point where you're the manager of your business.
Yeah.
And it's your job to grow that, and it's your staff's job to do work.
Yeah.
And so that's your job. And if you're bringing in people and you're bringing in work for your staff and you're growing your staff, then what did you lose?
Yeah.
Because you are the person that's running the show. And also, I know what I want to tweet, or put out there.
And you want to tell your story. So it needs to, you can't outsource, to me, you can't outsource social media. Because the voice needs to be.
I think that's.
And there are people there in the wine industry. There were people that would outsource social media to someone else who's not at the winery, and you build this relationship with this person, and then I would say, I want to come to the winery, and am I going to see you? And they say, oh no, we're not at the winery. We're in some other place. Well, you're sending a brand connection that's not authentic, and I want to know the voice of the people that I'm going to see. So when I come to the firm, I want to see that person that I've already gotten to know in some sense.
It is an investment, and I've listened to several of my peers, and we all have come down to the same thing. It's our investment, but it's an investment. You're not wasting your time.
Yeah, it's part of your job as what we do today in today's environment. It needs to be a systemic part of what we do, I think. And I'm, an old person. I'm not one of you young folk, but it's. But it's part of when you're thinking about how can I share this cool stuff that we've learned or that somebody else in the firm has done or whatever. And we're not a big firm. We're 21 folks in Napa. So we're not big time either. And the fact that I have, billable work that I'm doing in addition to the marketing, but it does. It all comes together when you start seeing it that way.
And like you were saying, I'm sitting here and I'm working, we did the Department of Labor thing earlier.
Cool thing,
and that affected us and that affected my clients. And I'm thinking, well, what is all this about? Oh, wow, this is a really good article. Well, why don't I just tweet this?
Yeah,
I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to schedule that. I just tweeted it. 8:30 at night when there was an injunction that went through, I tweeted it.
Yeah, because that's what we do at night as CPA. We're like watching the cool changes going on in the tax code and the laws and the stuff.
I do love what I do.
But it is, we don't turn it off. It's all day and night. If something applies, something comes across my frame of reference that relates to a client or potential client, I want to share it.
If you're a big firm, I guess you have people sitting there trying to tweet for you. But it is
tough.
too about your personality and what you want to get out and what you're trying to target. Yeah. But you do need to bring personality to it, and it does. If it's scheduled, it's not authentic.
Yeah, that's what I believe. I believe that too.
I think if you're outsourcing it, it's a different thing.
It's a different thing.
Yeah, you're not trying to build a relationship. You're just trying to stay in front of somebody.
And
the problem is,
you just block it out.
if you're going to put stuff out on social media, you got to be responsive. If somebody responds back, you can't just ignore it for 6 months and wait till your next scheduled time to check your things. You've got to have, if you want to really use this effectively, you've got to be back and forth with it. You've got to respond if somebody likes something that you say or something like that, and start connecting with those people. And that takes a little bit extra investment, but it's well worth it, in my opinion.
So a lot of social media, you're saying, is basically about kind of defining your personality in that space and also building relationships. So what was the old school way of doing that?
There's a lot of this, going out to meetings, and we were doing a lot of chamber meetings.
Business
we all
after
did
hours?
that. A lot of those canned meetings where we'd do that. We had the same exact problem, by the way. We'd all stand against the wall as CPAs, and people would ask us to introduce ourselves. I've been a CPA, I've been doing this for 25 years, and then we would stop and pass it on to the next person. We had the same issue. Or we'd have clammy hands, or we would have nothing to say. We wouldn't make eye contact. You can do exactly the same thing in these other environments. If you can't figure out what it is to say that's going to get somebody curious enough to learn more about you, it's going to fail in any media. So,
well, and think about the time investment in that. Sending a staff accountant,
all the
or,
rubber
you know,
chicken you
yourself.
had to consume.
Yeah, that's an investment, and
It's a
you
big
send people out.
investment.
Now people do like face to face, and you're still doing that on some level.
Yeah.
But you're in front of them. People want information now.
So the whole social media thing, if it's done well in a local market, is a prelude to the face-to-face. Because as I
Exactly.
said, when I show up, people know the Twitter stuff because they remember the Basset Hounds or something weird that I tweeted out in the middle of some hopefully useful stuff. But they remember that. It resonates in a way that the tax code stuff doesn't. And then when you meet them in person, there's already a connection. It makes it much easier. You're not standing against the wall. And if you are, yes, I'm saying this is I'm even a nerd when I'm against the wall. Maybe they'll ask me a question. But yeah, it's no more of an investment than sending some poor person off your tax staff out and saying, now you're a marketer, go make relationships. And going, how do I do that? So
Okay, so if you were starting an accounting firm today, what would you do in terms of getting the word out?
Oh, I love that
Go
question.
ahead.
I love that question.
First of all, I would start with bookkeeping. If I were starting a firm, I would start with online bookkeeping.
I'm going to agree with you.
No question about it.
I think I would start by picking. You're starting. Let's say you're starting a firm and you're thinking through all the things that go with it. I'd start with my core products, and then I'd market based on my products. Because right about now, all I want is clients.
That's right.
Now, if I can pick and choose my clients, and I have the ability to do that, fantastic. But I would start by picking my product, and then saying, this is what I want to sell. So line up your accounting, and then market based on product is what I do. And so like if it's accounting, pick your bookkeeping system and say, I do this.
I do this.
And let me tell you how to write this check or how to do this general ledger, and start working with that. So you become an expert on that, and people want to come to you. That's where I'd focus first.
And then you leverage. I mean, that's how I built a practice in Atlanta. I started with Peachtree Consulting in town. I did the software stuff, and then people would ask me to do the tax and the accounting. Which eventually I said, I don't want to do all that other stuff. I took it to a firm and then grew the practice around that. But that is a great entry point to do the other stuff. It leverages so well to do the tax and the business planning and all the other consulting that you want. If you have access to those transactions, you can really help people at a great
this is
level.
my process.
Yeah.
My process
Here's
is
my
we
process.
use this accounting system, we use this work paper system, we use this, this scanning system, we use whatever it is. You let people know that that's your process, and you're an expert at that.
I would put a little bit less about the tech stuff, the technology, and more about what I'm going to do with it.
Right.
That's my focus. It's here's what I'm going to, whatever tool I'm going to use, but you can leverage the branding for the products to help, because people are coming to products. But I would package it, and here's what I'm going to do with this stuff that you're not getting today, which is help you understand it, relate it to your business, and move the needle on your business, and achieve results that you're trying to achieve. I'm going to start by asking you what you do and why. I'm going to help you align everything that we do in your business to that, and then I'm going to be with you all along the way. And I'm going to do it in a different way from what you've ever seen. And I'm going to take these tools and leverage them in a way that serves you to the best.
I agree with you. I agree with how.
And we get real caught up in the technology because it's cool and it's way fun.
Well, yes,
and
but I would start with the tech. I would start by saying, because that people are looking for that.
They're looking for QBO.
They are looking for, do you
whatever.
use this system, because this is what I use, and that immediately in your hashtag. If you're using social media, you go back to hashtags and those kind of things. People are paying attention to that. But then if you can, then you get into making people understand your personality and your feeling, and that you care, and that you're going to make them successful.
Okay, so so we kind of veered into what we're going to do as opposed to how we're going to let people know that we do that. So
Start with a website.
Yeah, how do we
Gotta have a website.
Start with a website?
And a website, from my experience, is not where people come to me. They're not going into Google and looking for accounting.
Anymore.
They're not. It's still word of mouth, because CPAs are such a, we have the keys to the kingdom as a financial advisor. And so people want an individual recommendation of an accountant. And so it's usually word of mouth that sends them to us, and the website validates the personal recommendation. And I don't think that's changed very much, at least from my experience. Has it changed for you?
I don't think so either. At one time, I was trying to think, you can just go out and just get people, but people really still like that connection.
They still
They want a connection.
It's such a scary thing to turn over your financial world and all your dark secrets that are locked in your general ledger. And so you want to make sure that there's some sort of a trust level. And I think some of that trust can be built via social media, but there's still a personal, at least still in local work, and work that is passed on in a local market and live. It's still dependent on somebody's word of mouth.
So-
and then the website should make it sing. When they go there, they go, oh yeah, this is different.
Yeah, it's not the first place. You know,
Yeah.
back in the early 2000s, we were all like,
Yeah.
gotta have a website because
Yeah.
people are gonna go to the web
Yes.
and they're gonna Yahoo you.
Yeah, they're going to
There was no Google,
they're
right?
Gonna AOL.
They're gonna AOL and Yahoo you. And
Alta
then,
Vista, remember that? Alta Vista, yeah. Search engine, yeah.
so they're gonna do that. So you gotta have a website, right?
Yeah.
And so, but then it's kind of transformed, and your website is where they go to get to your portal now.
Yeah.
It's not really
Yeah.
where they go to learn
more
about
a
you
tool.
so much. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
more of a tool when you're there. But I want to send them there so they're constantly seeing me to get into wherever they need to go.
And we're doing articles and blog posts. We're keeping
Yeah.
current stuff up there, but we still have a hard time getting people to go to the articles that we send. Again, we have a list problem. Getting our client list, even in prospects is one issue, but a client list, we got client data in 5 different systems. I can't get a good email to send out a blast because I got one contact in billing that's not the person who I need to get to, and all my other emails are in individual Outlook contact lists that people in my team have. It's a huge
Yeah.
issue. We don't have CRM, I hate to admit.
Well, there's
And we're working
we
on
talk
that.
about that a lot in the
I
accounting
know.
industry, CRM.
We
but yeah.
can't, and then there's data in Lacert, and there's data in Caseware, and there's different pieces of data all over, and I can't get a good list easily to do an email blast.
Okay, although if you are the firm that's
Yeah.
just starting out fresh, you
Yeah.
can get the right
You can get
software
a list,
and,
and you can
build from
also
there.
do some content to drive people to give you their email address, so you can then market to them, and you can bring all the social
Well,
media together to do that.
And I think also speaking
speaking is huge.
is good. So, like,
It's
I have a
huge.
friend and a peer, and she started out what we call in one of our groups a cliff jumper, right?
Yeah.
They're like, I'm going to go and I'm going
You
to do
just
this.
do
How do
it,
I do
yeah.
this? By golly, you just jump off the cliff,
And
man,
start talking to
and
people.
go.
Yeah.
And she's done it, and she did pick an industry, and so then she started speaking on it.
Yeah.
I've got to go and talk about self-storage units, you know, and I think it's done really well for her. And then all of a sudden, you're
great.
speaking in Vegas about self-storage
You're-
units. You know,
you
you're
find
just
it. You can find these niches.
You have
and
to
you
go
can
do
find
it.
the people because they all have
and
some
they're there.
place where they go.
And if you're going to speak, find a way to weave your brand into your speaking. So if you're speaking about anything I talk about, I don't care what it is, you will find wine show up in there. 'Cause I want to be associated with wine. I'm talking about any subject, it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm do a top 10 technology tips topic, and half my examples have wine in them. So you can see that I'm related in some way to wine, and so I'm bringing that firm brand along everywhere that I go. So you don't have to speak about or even know, you don't have to talk about wine everywhere you go as your topic. You can blend your specialty or your brand into that as you give examples when you're speaking. It's an easy way to get established. But
Let's
yeah.
put the third CPE number up on the screen. So if you're going to get CPE for this class, your third number is on the screen. Be sure to write that down so you can get your CPE when we are finished. So let's talk a little bit more about niches and marketing to a niche, because I went to a class that you did on that recently, and you had some particularly interesting ideas and a lot of feedback from the audience too, because I think you surveyed everyone about what their niche was,
Yeah.
and there was a great
It's
variety.
amazing.
So if you've decided to start performing accounting services to a particular niche, or even start performing a particular niche of accounting services, like
Yeah.
whether it's payroll or
Yeah.
something, what are some social media tools that are going to, or not even necessarily social media, but in general marketing tools that are going to help you reach that particular niche? I mean, we just talked
First-
about speaking.
Yeah, well, speaking is a great way to deliver the message, but you got to find a group to speak to, right? So you start with, if you're doing a niche, you find an industry association. There are usually national and local industry associations, and you get established with those groups. You go, and maybe you have to be the treasurer to start, which I avoid all treasurer positions. Because I want to be seen as somebody different, not in the traditional accounting spot. But if that's your strength and you have those skills, get connected to that group through that position, and then leverage that into speaking. If they need a finance for this market topic, then you're the person that they're going to know, and you're going to be sitting there available to make that delivery. But I mean, I started with every little bitty winery-related anything in my market. I came in 2007 with no connections whatsoever to the industry and had to establish the brand in that space. And so, I mean, if there was a little 5-person gathering that needed somebody to speak about something, I would do it. And I got everywhere. By the time, and in a couple of years, I'd been everywhere. And then if they needed a speaker at something, they knew me as a speaker. So then I could build content that was relevant to whatever, the topic they needed. And then we started to become that firm.
Yeah,
spread.
speaking,
Speaking, writing,
Really is.
writing for people, they always need content. Everybody needs content. Magazines need content. So if you can write, If you can't write, find somebody to edit for you. You give them the content and have them edit your material and turn it into something that you can provide. That stuff all builds credibility and presence in your market, and it grows before you know it. I mean, it really connects. And that group over here knows somebody in this group, and then they tell everybody.
I was going to say that associations.
And they just connect you to everybody.
Associations aren't bad either. You know, whether it's an association with you know, depending on what you do, there's a brokerage relationship or a lawyer relationship or a, you know, whatever it is.
Somebody goes to the cement workers conference every year and speaks. I mean, you know,
Somebody's got to do it.
there's niches for these things that you don't even think about. And if you want to really get established, those people all talk to each other.
Yeah.
And you can spread the presence.
Absolutely.
Okay. What about resources online? I mean, I did a little bit of searching and found AICPA has a marketing toolkit that's kind of amazing.
Yeah,
some of it's kind of out of date, but a lot of it is a lot of it is current and useful, and you don't even have to belong to get access to it. It's just there for accountants. Which is
I would
super.
say read everything by Seth Godin you can get your hands on.
right.
His stuff about being remarkable really changed my life. I mean, his thing about Purple Cow, which is one of his early books, was great. Everything he writes is so on point and useful. Pat Lencioni does some great books. One of them, Getting Naked, which is frightening for somebody from the South, because they're always getting naked in California. But it's a great book. It's a great book about being vulnerable with clients and how to communicate in a way that doesn't have to be, I know everything, communicating that you don't necessarily know everything and asking. It changes your perspective on how we deliver ourselves as accountants. So I read that. But Seth Godin, I mean, it's your first introduction to how to stand out in a crowd, is a great place to go. What other tools do you use? And there's some raving fan books that I really like.
Yeah, you know, I'm just trying to think. But you've mentioned
Seth Godin. I think he's the go-to.
Well, you know, and we just and
there's Zag, some other
but
books.
that's changed too over the past few years. That's changed how you want to market, and the whole, you know, we got into the why thing and changing from missions to your whys and changing, you know, and being more about who you. Again, it goes back to personality. Who you are.
Who's in here?
Instead of being about pushing product out.
Yeah, here's what I do, here's what I do, here's what I have, here's
so
what I have.
So all the books have changed to that too. Like Necessary Endings is about, you know, how to end relationships so that you can really start and focus on something else and keep all the positive, you know, things. It's really, the whole conversation has changed in terms of resources and what's out there in terms of books and the thought processes. There are peer groups out there that would love to help you get started.
There's the Accountants Marketing Association, which is a great place, great conference to attend. They have some great resources, great speakers that are involved there that you can follow and follow on social media and learn stuff about.
And I've attended some of those courses. You know, small firm, I don't have a marketing person. I don't have a technology person. I am the marketing technology person. But, you know, to sit into some of those classes, you know, to attend a conference, to attend a CPE, and then go talk to people and get the information that they have. Boy, there are some really smart people out there. Some really bright ideas.
To me, the best thing you can do as marketer, and the skill that we have naturally as CPAs, is listening. The best thing you can do to form a relationship with somebody is to listen to them. And so if you will just take the time to listen and then to be responsive, which we're also typically very good at. We're good at follow through. Just listen to what they say and then be responsive and remember them and keep track of things and, you know, help them stay on point and stay connected. That will serve you very well. It's a very simple thing to be a responsive, kind person and a person that listens to other folks, and you'll stand out.
You know, it also doesn't hurt to have a relationship with other accountants.
Yeah.
Because there's things I don't want to do.
Yeah, that's amazing to me.
And other people do. Like, you know, you want to take care of pension plans? Here you go. You know, I don't want anything to do with ERISA or
take all that
friends.
stuff, please. And we don't do any payroll. I don't want to get involved in any payroll with anybody.
It doesn't hurt to make relationships because I find we used to be worried about competitors. But I really don't feel like I'm competing. I don't feel like I'm competing with the firm next door anymore. We have different clientele. And it's not that my clientele's better or worse. It's that I have a personality for my clientele and you have a personality for your clientele, and there's enough people that need work done that we're going to be okay, you know. And so it doesn't hurt to build a relationship, because there's times I'll say, I don't do that. Let me get a hold of, you know, so-and-so and push that over there.
So essentially you're marketing yourself to other accountants or other service professionals in your realm and sharing recommendations between each other.
We get a lot of
Sure.
referrals from banks. We work the whole bank circuit in our market. We work to all the attorneys. We talk to them. We do a lot of estate planning, which is a great feeder for other services. And you work those traditional influencer channels. But again, the niche focus really helps you narrow who it is you're going to get in front of, who you're going to talk to, and how you're going to.
Another thing we didn't really touch on is marketing to your existing client base.
Yeah.
And that could
forget
be
that?
either
How did you forget about
additional
that?
services
Yeah.
or even just asking your clients to refer you to someone else.
Yeah.
So any brief, we're almost out of time, but any brief stories or
We've
experiences
done
you've
open
had with
houses that are a great way to get people in. When we moved to a new office, we brought people in to see what we did and how we set up the office to be different. And so you let them see that we're doing things differently. When they walk in, they get the idea that we have the low cubes and we have an open floor plan kind of an idea, and that we're trying to be different.
I think I think when you have clients for a very long time, they get in a rut with you, and you get in a rut with them. And sometimes when I'm a tax CPA, I love tax returns. Okay, I do. I'm that girl. But when I walk in and say, "Hey, did you know we can do the
this.
payroll,
Yeah.
and it will be right at the end of the year, and it'll be done by January 1, we'll have all your
Yeah.
W-2s and 1099s done, and that'll make my job doing your tax return that much easier too."
Yeah.
You know, and so I find that, it's on me sometimes just to say something.
It's just-
and then my clients go,
Yeah.
"Oh, you can do that? Yeah, we can."
In tax season is the best time to expand
It
those
really
services,
is.
to have the conversation. And that's a big focus for our firm this year, is to make sure that we spend the time to have a meeting face-to-face with these clients and talk about some of the stuff that we may not have exposed them to before.